Hey guys, so this is just a quick video to help you discern the differences between a host and a raid. Now, before we get into this, I want to make it very clear that this is not based on a solid science because Twitch is very secretive almost about the things that it wants you guys to know. The site doesn't often be incredibly transparent with certain things. This is one of those, so it's just information I've gleaned over the past few months that I've looked, I've noticed, I've taken a chunk of the numbers, etc. I've kind of crunched them to myself, and basically, this is just a video to try and explain to you guys what the differences are, how they can help and hinder. And I also want to premise this that it doesn't matter whether you've been streaming and you host or raid at the end of the stream, myself as a streamer, and I'm sure all the other streamers out there greatly appreciate the fact that you want to showcase the channel that you choose to host and or raid. That being said, since its introduction, raids over the last few months have gone through a few changes, and also hosts have gone through a few changes. Some of these changes might not look like very sensible changes, but I can kind of see where they're coming from on both sides. And again, knowing those differences can really help you as a streamer, large or small, to help support other people and help get that support yourself. So basically, the basic principle is that a host, when you get hosted by a channel or when you host someone, it just essentially, when a person goes to that channel, you will come up. Your channel or the channel you are hosting will come up on that video player as a preview, and you can click a little button in the top right of the chat and you can go to that channel. Now you count as a viewer on the channel that you are watching that is being hosted after a certain amount of time, but you're not what I've come to call a true viewer. And what that means is until you click that go to channel button, you will show up as a viewer, but say they then host or raid themselves, the number of how many viewers are actually in the channel will be much less because you're not actually on that channel, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a weird, you're kind of a ghost viewer, whereas before, 2 years ago, if you were watching on that channel and that channel was hosting, you would count as a viewer because raiding wasn't a thing then. So you'd host, and the host number would be a total accumulation of all of the numbers. And what that means is that as long as you are watching from somebody that is hosting, you won't count towards their actual average viewer count, because you're not a true viewer. Ironically enough, you don't count as a viewer at all for 20 minutes. I think it's 20 minutes. So if you raid somebody, your viewers won't count towards that person's average until they've been in that channel for 20 minutes. That's kind of how the averages are worked out. So what this means is that if you continue to watch from just somebody that's hosting you, what will happen is that in the stats on the dashboard, there will be a tab that goes views by hosting or views by raids, and what that shows is the percentage of views you get, how many of that comes from hosts and raids and other things. So hosts actually play a big part of that because you're not watching on that person's channel itself, so you're counting as a hosted percentage. Sorry. So that's kind of like the main differences. Now, there are many arguments for and many arguments against both hosting and raiding after a stream. The main argument for, obviously, is it's because it's direct support. If you raid, what happens is you get a timer and you all go along. You are forced to that channel. You can opt out of it, obviously, and stay lurking, but that's fine. But if you raid, it is direct support. It's almost instantaneous and instant that is a big number of people in your channel. However, if you host, it one takes much longer for it to register that there's anybody now watching, and two, from what I've noticed, it will half the number of how many you were hosted by. Again, this is just something that I've noticed over time. I don't know how accurate this actually is, but from my own personal experience, if I get hosted for, say, 10 people, I will notice that my number will only ever usually go up by 5, or it will go up by 10, then it will drop instantly back down to about 5. Whether that's because 5 people have actually come across, or whether that's just it's working out the averages of who's lurking, who's not lurking, etc., etc. People that have then just gone, well, I'm not watching this channel anymore. It goes down much faster. Whereas if you are raiding, or if you are raided, people tend to engage much more because there's that initial, well, I'm here now, I might as well say hello sort of thing. As a viewer, what you can do to help the person that is being raided, you, like I say, can stay there for 20 minutes, get to know the streamer, talk to them, see what they're like. It will help them greatly. However, obviously hosting, it makes it much easier for the lurkers that like to stay in one channel, or don't really want to go around and wake up the next morning in a channel 6 channels away from different raids and stuff. So it actually helps with the lurk. However, to my knowledge, again, this is just to my knowledge because there were rumours and all sorts flying about when they introduced this, you don't count as a viewer on the person's channel that you are staying in, so if the person hosts you, until you talk. So if you are already in the channel before that person starts stream, for the first 15 or 20 minutes at least, you won't count as a viewer. Whereas if you come into the stream and say hi, the second you type, then you are counted as a viewer. So there's pluses and minuses. Personally, I always raid. I always raid after a stream. I find it's just better. It creates a much better community kind of feel. But at the same time, it's still not, because a lot of people as well with the alerts, they don't think to put a raid alert on because they still don't quite understand what raids are. So if you raid, it won't actually show the host unless you use certain bots like Stream Elements, I think still does it. Whereas if you got the raid command on, then it will count everything. It's really weird the way that the alerts work. Also with auto hosting is a great way of supporting. But again, Twitch have removed that as well. Like they've removed a very easy way of seeing who is auto hosting you on your channel. I don't know why they've done that. I genuinely do not understand why they've done this. It's something that I wish they'd bring back. The only way you can see who is hosting you now is to have your dashboard open, and it's one of the tabs there. It's one of the tabs on the dashboard that show you who's hosting you. But again, you'll get lots of auto hosts through, but if you look through your auto host list, it'll only be about half of the people that are actually got you on the host list. It's very strange. And lastly, the last change that they've made is, I think it's about 5 minutes, but if you wait more than 5 minutes after your stream and you host someone, no matter how many people are still in your channel watching you, the alert will say 1. It will say 1 person, and it creates a really not awkward, and people generally do try and be as hyped up as possible, but it doesn't create the same effect if you've got 100 people in your channel and it says you're only hosting for 1. And I know, again, you shouldn't be differentiating and being like, oh my god, you've got 10 people or it's only 1 person. But the hype that comes with it from both the streamer hosting and the streamer being hosted is much less, and it's more confusion than anything, especially if you know the streamer personally. One of my streamer friends proved this today. I knew that they'd just finished streaming, so I knew that they had more than the amount that was in the chat, and it just created a very weird kind of vibe of confusion because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know why it was only showing 1 viewer. So that's something to watch out for as well. Whereas if you raid, even if you've already ended your stream, it will take those viewers that are there and put them in the stream, which means you get a much more accurate view of how many people are in your channel. But yeah, that's just my little bit on it. That is just my little take. I hope it helped. I hope it helped you. I hope it helps you understand. Like I say, I always try and raid after a stream. It's much better. But raid or host, I appreciate your faces. I love you to death. And I hope this has helped. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Ciao, ciao, guys. Ciao, ciao.